Hi folks, we are bang at the business end of the season. I can see already I'm getting some hassle in the chat for my timekeeping. Apologies, I'll blame Paddy, but definitely all my fault. This is a countdown to kick-off show ahead of Celtic v Hearts at Celtic Park tomorrow. It's Matchday 35, Paddy, of this season's Scottish Premiership campaign. How are you feeling about this one?
Just excited. I enjoyed the discussion on Monday's show, and then just looking forward to the next 4 games in the league. I think I heard a few people on the Super Scoreboard during the week, and they were just talking about the magnitude of this game, as well as the Rangers game next week. But this is huge tomorrow. I can't wait to just feel a bit of a buzz around the stadium. Everyone heading for a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. Should be a full house. Excited for tomorrow's game, and just hopefully we can go and put on a show and really put down a bit of a marker for this running as well. It would be quite nice to see us take 2 or 3 off Hearts. Looks as if they've kind of down tools a little bit, but they will want to show up against us, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. Do you know, I wrote an article this morning, which is on our website now, the CelticExchange.com, and just from the day, I hadn't really kicked in until today, but today I'm genuinely getting really excited about this one. As you say, Paddy, it is massive. Next week will take care of itself, but this week, tomorrow, is the only show in town, at least for now. So lots to get excited about. Lots of news, Paddy. You'll have seen various headlines this morning. Season ticket renewals out. Liam Scales' new deal. New kit has been leaked somewhere. Brendan Rodgers, manager of the month for April, and probably a few other things that I've missed. We can't really focus on much of all that just now. We'll certainly pick it up on the show on Monday. But the Liam Scales news is big. It's definitely split opinions, certainly in the madhouse that is Twitter. It's split the fan base in terms of lack of ambition, or he really deserves it, and various other opinions in between. What's your own take, Paddy? He signed a 4-year deal this morning, and he's the guy that was put up for press this morning at Lennoxtown.
I think a reward for his increase in performance this season. To necessarily say that he's going to be a starting centre half for Celtic next season, I don't see that at all. I do think he's a squad player. I'm a little bit annoyed because actually I'm then looking at the fact that, well, hang on a minute, what are we getting from Lagerbielke? Is he going to go? Navrotski, is he going to go? And we've got Stephen Welsh there as well. So you've also then got to look at a Champions League squad if we do go and win the league, or a European squad for that matter. And it's another place taken. So if we go and sign another centre half, we really need to see players leaving. I thought, I don't know where we're going with this one. I don't see many teams coming in for him, Tino, in terms of if we were to try and make money off him. I don't see, us making much in that sense. And I'm taking, it takes a lot for me to say it, considering he's a Celtic player, and I want all our players to do well. But I don't see the reason in the deal. I don't see it.
There's a few things at play, and I'm finding it quite hard to square it off. First and foremost, I feel that you've got to admire Liam Scales as an individual for maxing out on the talent he has. I think you've got to admire anybody in any walk of life who does that. He's got a certain skill set, and there's a ceiling to that, and I think we can all agree on that. But he's got the absolute best and most out of the abilities he has, and he's been rewarded for that. And I think just stepping aside, just as a guy, I think that's credible.
Yeah.
And from a Celtic point of view, you've got to look at what's next this season, and I would call for focus for the here and now. Now's not the time to have the Liam Scales debate as such. That can wait till summer. I agree with you, Paddy. I think he's a squad player, and I think Celtic absolutely must be looking at a centre half in the summer. I'd be amazed if we don't. It's clear that Navrotski and Lagerbielke, to varying degrees, just aren't fancied by the manager. They've been fit, they've been available. He chooses not to play them. Stephen Welsh has been in the background, and maybe he'll be an ambitious guy in his own right, but maybe happy enough to play a supporting role. And I do think that's the role that Liam Scales has to play next season as well. But we'll need to see what happens in the transfer market, and there'll be plenty of debate between here and summer in terms of that position. In terms of tomorrow, Paddy, as I say, focus on the here and now. Liam Scales will be boosted by that. He'll definitely start against Hearts, and now just allows him to fully focus on that. There's no doubt for footballers at different times in their career, contract talks can be a distraction. This has clearly gone on for a number of weeks, if not months. Scales revealed that in his press conference. So he should be more settled for the fact that his medium-term future is taken care of.
Yeah, I think obviously it's going to spark up the debate that we all kind of know. I think we've all kind of came to a judgment of Liam Scales, some quicker than others, which is fine. There's a bit of sentimentality when it's an Irishman kind of pulling on the hoops. It's a great sight to see, of course, and I think there's a lot of fans that have that side and that view on it. That's what we want to see. But ultimately, the ability side for me hasn't always been there for Liam Scales. So I hope that it's not a case of fans on his back tomorrow if there's any wayward passes or any misjudged headers or anything like that. I still think that we try and get behind this team for the running, absolutely, and that includes all of our players that are on the park. But there's no doubt there will be questions asked about the contract, in my opinion. Again, as I say, with such a bloated defence and a defence that's not really, no one is standing out at this point. And we're just saying at the beginning there, Tino, we do need to bring someone in the summer. And we done a transfer show not that long ago, before last season, where we were speaking about the press conference from Brendan Rodgers and how he wanted to make a bit of an imprint in Europe and want to make a stance in Europe. And we've really yet to see the quality that he's required to come in. Still very early days in Nicholas Kuhn, still very early days in Adam Ida, if we do decide to keep him. So, when you hear contracts like that going out, it raises a few eyebrows, in my opinion.
You might be right, and I think there's a very genuine and probably lengthy debate to be had. So we'll pick up some of that on the weekly show on Monday night. The other big news, Paddy, you'll have seen, and I think we were all waiting for it and to an extent expecting it, but Daizen Maeda has been confirmed as fit and available, and Brendan Rodgers says he goes right back into the squad for tomorrow. Says he's a physical specimen. The guy's a phenomenon. How big a boost is that? We've debated Maeda's skill set, his abilities, his technical abilities and lack of at times, but there's no doubt he brings so much to this Celtic side.
He's as we've said many times before, he's an enigma. I think he's one of those players where just out of nowhere he is a flash of brilliance, and then out of nowhere you're like, how have you become a footballer? He's just such an incredible player to watch for us, but off the ball, I think is his strongest asset of the game. I think what he does for the team, keeping us in the final third of the park, keeping other teams in their own half, is next to none. And actually, you see a bit more of a connection between him and Kyogo more than anyone else in terms of pressing. And actually, in the game against Rangers, I watched Maeda at points pulling our team out from our own half at points where we needed it, putting them under a bit of pressure. Some dodgy passes back to their goalkeeper, some dodgy clearances, all coming for one guy. So he's huge. He's not suited always to play against a low block, which we're probably going to come up against tomorrow. But having said that, we still need to keep Hearts pinned in. So I think he's crucial for this run, and would love to see him start.
Yeah, and we'll get to that just shortly. It's a serious question, isn't it? Does he slot right back in? Does he start on the bench? And we'll cover that and the rest of the questions just shortly. I was going to ask about the mindset of the group at this moment in time. So, as mentioned there, Maeda being back gives a boost to his teammates. They all know what he can offer and the work he does, both going forward and defending. Over the group as a whole, it wasn't the prettiest performance last week at Dundee, but it was an important performance and another important result. And the main thing, as always at this stage, is getting 3 points, Paddy. How do you think the players will be feeling in general? We're now, as I said at the top, bang in, the business end of the campaign. This is the first of 4 final games, 3 of which will be at home at Celtic Park. How are the group feeling at this stage?
I think there'll be a good energy about the training ground. I think a nervous energy is a definite. You can see kind of how they're playing lately. Like the game kind of passed a few by last Sunday, and we spoke about the pitch, absolutely. But I think that, I've mentioned this before, that there's half of this team know what it takes to go and get there, but they're also trying to coax another half of the team that are new to it and understanding it and really taking this pressure on board. And it comes down to our wingers as well. We look at obviously Yang and Nicholas Kuhn. This is new territory for these guys, and we're speaking about the impact that they could have for the remainder of the season, whether that's from the bench or starting. They need big players around them. They need people who kind of guide them through these situations as well. And actually, I put that to our back line as well. I think I've spoke a lot about we seem to be getting pressed by every team in the league on our left-hand side on the attack, and we seem to be allowed the ball on the left-hand side when we're bringing the ball out for the back. How do you deal with that pressure? It takes big characters around you to guide you through in these moments, and I think that there'll be an element of mistakes happening in these games 100%. I think we'll make many in the run-in, but what do we have going forward? Do we have enough that we outscore the other team? Because I do see us leaking more goals. I really do. I say that obviously for last week against Dundee, I didn't expect it to be plain sailing, and it was uncomfortable. But we do have enough going forward. We do score goals, and we need to remember that. And we've really improved in that since January. For me, I think we've kicked on, and we're in good form in that sense.
Definitely, and out with the players, Paddy, and the focus and the energy that they'll bring. I was going to come to an important question, and a couple of folks in the comments have got to it before me. So the Flying Haggis says, nervous energy from the stands. We must be patient if needed. And I get that. The article I mentioned earlier on that's on our website now that I wrote this morning was in reply to a tweet that I seen during the week. Can't remember who from, and I'll try and find it at some point. But basically it was someone calling for calm from the stands. Don't get anxious, don't get nervous. We need you to be calm because that will then translate to the players. Good luck with that, because we'll be as nervous as the players, Paddy, absolutely. And that's just part of football. You'll see another comment here from Patrick McLaughlin who says, never mind nervous energy, go bananas and create a Champions League atmosphere. And that would be far more like the approach I'd be keen to promote, Paddy, because you can't not be nervous, you can't not be anxious at this moment in time. I referenced the fact that Brendan Rodgers in his first season won the league by 30-odd points.
Yeah.
Ronnie Dyler won 2 league titles, one by 17 points, one by 15 points. Neil Lennon won his early titles by something like 15, 20 and 29 points. Absolutely cruising it, and that's fine. You know, that's all fun and games at the time, and it's enjoyable, and every title should be cherished. But these titles, Paddy, when it comes down to the wire, tell me anyone that was there in 1998 when Wim Jansen stopped the 10 that I'll ever forget that. Tell me anyone that was there on Love Street in 1986, which is today marks the anniversary of that particular game. Tell me anyone there that will forget that. Tell me anyone that was at the title for Tommy and Tannadice in 2008. These are the biggies. These are the ones that you remember. These are kind of why you're in it, Paddy. This is where the excitement and the buzz comes from. So, of course, I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I'm sure you are. I know for sure that Miff is, for example, James as well. So
he's probably the calmest out of a lot, to be honest. This time round.
That itself's unnerved me a wee bit. But I do think we've got a huge part to play. And I've said whether you're at Celtic Park tomorrow, or whether you're supporting Celtic from any of the 4 corners of the globe, I think there's just a need for this united front. I think we need to bring a certain energy as well. So yes, be nervous, but bring your positive energy and really try and drive the team on and get fully behind them. Whether you rate Liam Scales or not, whether Brendan Rodgers is your guy or not, whether you think it should be Daizen Maeda or Kyogo up top, whatever. We're all Celtic fans, and I really do think there's a real call here for a united front.
I'm ready to run through brick walls for you there, Tino. That was inspirational. But no, listen, I totally get where you're coming from on it. I think for me, with this though, and in those seasons going past, the understanding of what we were up against was a little bit more easier to take in. I think we look at the most recent one when we won the league in the second last game of the season against the United. That was a rebuild of a squad. You know, the amount of youth players we utilised all the way up to the January window. Young guys that are now no longer at the club, but they were making a mark because the squad was pretty bare. And the feeling we had at that game in the February when we beat Rangers 3-0 at Celtic Park was a real, that was a Champions League night for me, in the sense of, you know, we're moving in the right direction. It's going to be a tough season. It's going to be tight to the very end, but this team is really starting to click. You speak about the ones gone past in history as well, all great occasions. I think the one that severs this a little bit for Celtic is just the basically the setup from the very get-go has been pretty poor. I don't want to sound negative on it, but the transition for losing a manager into a new manager, every club will always struggle with that, absolutely. But we didn't put the brakes on bringing players in. And I understand that maybe they felt they needed to bolster the squad, but I just felt that the signings last summer were nowhere near what was required. And also I felt that our manager didn't really have much of a part to play in getting any of them. And I just think that, there's still just that idea at one point where we're sitting 8 points clear at the top, and to kind of just go and throw that away. I get that we've had injuries. I get that we have had some poor performances this season as well. But you're speaking about it being one of the classics. I'll be happy if I get this season, win it or lose it. I really will. I think we'll learn a lot from it, but ultimately the buck lies with the board again.
I know exactly what you mean, Paddy, and it's certainly not going to be our most spectacular title in terms of free-flowing, beautiful football. But for me, the buzz is the same. When you lift that trophy and when you turn up on trophy day, touch wood, all going well, the buzz is exactly the same. And that's what I'm hoping for. Some folks, James had mentioned that he was at Love Street in 86, and he feels that this one, if we get there, could be every bit as sweet. We've got Maestro95 in the comments telling us that he was there as a 16-year-old in 86. Feels like it was yesterday to him. So these are the big memories, and I think it could be a spectacular end to the season, not because of the football, Paddy, just because of the nature and the up and down and the ebb and flow of this whole campaign. So there's loads to get excited about, and hopefully we're in the right end of that come a few weeks' time. Let's get to the lineup then. Let's get a bit of focus on the Hearts game. I think the goalie and back four picked themselves, Paddy. Tell me if I'm wrong. So Joe Hart in goals, Alistair Johnson right back, Greg Taylor left back, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and fresh from signing his new deal, Liam Scales at centre half. Any changes to that for you?
No, quite comfortable with that. I think we know that that's the run-in for the season, if obviously touch with no injuries. But yeah, I think that'll be our back four for the next 5 games.
There's a couple of big questions, Paddy, and this is the first of them, and it's Callum McGregor. We spoke about him on the show on Monday, and he's clearly not at himself. There's no getting away from that. It's not been hypercritical in any way, shape or form. I think most of us can see that fitness-wise, he's just not there at this moment in time. He's got this Achilles heel injury that seems to be slowing him down, holding him back. And I think there's been a balance for Brendan Rodgers between, bringing back your most influential player, your club captain, the guy who drives everybody on. That's one side of it. But maybe to the detrimental side of it is the fact that he's just not fully fit. He's just not quite ready to go. And he's tried to balance that out. He's given him certain game time. I need to double check. I mentioned this last week. He got, I don't know, was it half an hour against Rangers, then 20 minutes against St Mirren, and then 60 minutes at Hampden and around about 60 minutes against Dundee. My suggestion, and we covered it on the weekly show, is that Iwata should come back in. Iwata is nowhere near the player that Callum McGregor is, and he has nowhere near the influence on a game of football. But he's fit and he's ready and he's good to go. And I think he should return in the number 6, allowing Matt O'Reilly to do his thing and Rio Hatate to do their thing. What do you think?
I think common sense would be for me anyway. I think I would take Callum Mac out the firing line, just to get a bit more time back at it. I think training. A lot can happen in 7 days, especially when there's no games in between. And I know it'll be busting a gut to get himself back up there, back and about it. I think he'll start tomorrow. I do. I think Rodgers wants his big players on the park. And if we get another hour out of him, it's another hour under his belt. Hearts were very, very good in the press at Tynecastle in December. And Iwata looked lost at points in terms of how much he lost the ball 3 or 4 times, I think, in the first half. And I just think that, for me, McGregor, as much as, yes, he might not be at 100%, he knows the reading of these games more than anyone. He knows the tenacity of it, and for me, I just think that I would be happy with either or, Tino. I really would. But I think Rodgers sees what Callum McGregor brings to it, and his understanding, his knowledge, and of the importance of this fixture. I think he'll get the nod, and I think he might play 70 tomorrow.
It's interesting, and actually, just as you're talking that through, I would be happy for him to start, absolutely. If he's deemed fit enough, yeah, let's go for broke. And he's obviously at a level of fitness that he's in around the squad. There's a good comment from Monty that came in there saying that you need to remember at this stage in the season, very few players are at 100%. I think you get that situation where fatigue kicks in. And
one player for me like that, and I totally agree with you, Monty, is Matt O'Reilly. Matt O'Reilly looks dead in his feet, but he's been carrying quite a bit in the midfield for me, to be honest. And he's still providing, but he looks tired.
Yeah, it's a long old season. I think Celtic are approaching something like 50 games now, so it's a lot of minutes for a lot of those guys. And Callum McGregor, yes, you can't deny his importance to the team. And I think, as I was mentioning there, if he starts and if he has to put the pause up at half time and say I've done my job for the day, then that's fine. If that gets you a foothold in the game, and then Iwata comes in, so it's a big call to make. But we'll give Cal Mac the nod. I'm sure Brendan's listening and he'll take the advice. There's no doubt it's Matt O'Reilly and it's Rio Hatate in front of him, so not much to debate there, Paddy. But where there is a genuine debate, again, is in the wide areas. Man of the moment, out with Liam Scales, is definitely always Brendan Rodgers, definitely James Forrest. He's been the star man last couple of games, come on against Aberdeen at Hampden, done his job there, then grabs the 2 goals that win you the game against Dundee. Confidence is so important in football, momentum is so important. James Forrest has got both of those things in abundance at this moment in time. But does Maeda coming in take him back out the team?
No, I don't think it does. I think, as I said on Monday, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Forrest revert to the right side. And as I said, I don't think it's a slight on Nicholas Kuhn. I just think that look at the experience and the knowledge that James Forrest is bringing to our game in the last two games that he's been involved in. Getting an hour out of James Forrest again, or even 70 minutes, and then having someone like Nicholas Kuhn to come on is not a bad thing for Celtic. And listen, you might even see the same kind of change in the left-hand side if Maeda's not up to 90 minutes yet himself. But for me, I think you go with experience, and especially for this run-in. So James Forrest doesn't come out the starting lineup, and I think it would be him and Daizen Maeda on the wings tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans would be agreeing with you there. Let us know what you think in the comments as well on that. What about what side each of them take up, Paddy? This has become interesting. James Forrest is all of a sudden, I talked about the evolution of his game last week, but he's become more of a left-sider now. He seems to be the guy that's comfy in the left-hand side. And someone also pointed out to me, and it's a great point, he's quite a narrow left winger. He's not out hugging the touchline. He's coming in and getting involved in the play. Yeah. If you look at his 2 goals, his first goal, he's in around the box, cracks that volley after Kyogo's cultured layoff. And then the second goal, he's pressing high up the park, but high and narrow, and he manages to get the break of the ball and gets the goal there. Do you think if it is Forrest and Maeda, you might see Forrest remain on the left and Daizen go back to the right? Because also, Daizen is very effective on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say Daizen's more effective in the left, and I think that Forrest can do a bit of both. James made a good point on Monday in terms of he feels that Forrest is a lot more comfortable in the left now in his career with bringing himself in, with being that bit narrower. But he's played that narrow role, as I've said before. He's played that narrow role on the right many a time for us as well when required. And what I see with James Forrest is a bit more patience in the ball, full control of the ball in those tight situations, just on the edge of the 18 if needed. And he's got, like I said on Monday, he's got Alistair Johnson in the overlap, but he also then has a bit more time to bring the likes of Matt O'Reilly or Rio Hatate in at the edge of the box. And I just think that whatever we go, Brendan Rodgers loves to switch his wingers as well. I can see that happening throughout the game tomorrow too. But I think he would go Maeda on the left and Forrest on the right.
Okay, so James and Maeda getting the nod, potentially to switch around at different points in the game. In terms of your number 9, Paddy, last week, it was you and I that spoke this time last week, wasn't it, last Friday? And I was suggesting that you still need to start Kyogo. He's still the main man. He's your talismanic striker. He's your top man up front. But actually, in hindsight, it seemed clear to me, the more the game went on, that Dens Park was certainly more suited to Daizen Maeda. The park was, bobbly, dry, all these kind of things, but it became quite a physical battle. And I think Daizen Maeda, in hindsight, would probably have been the better fit. That said, we're now back at Celtic Park. Should be in good condition. Great day for it, all these kind of things. And again, I think the wide open spaces should suit Kyogo. And I would be, pushing the boy for him to remain up top for this one. What do you think? Do you see any case for Ida to start?
I can see a case for it at the start. However, I can see many more for Kyogo to keep his jersey, in my opinion. I really like the big man. I've been hearing the figure of 5 million getting floated about this week all day. No brainer for me. For Daizen Maeda, I think he's shown very, very calm, cool, composed character in the big moments. And I think, under Rodgers' coaching, he can get better. I think that we look at the money we spent on Odsonne-Edouard when Dembele was still at the team. And I know that Dembele was more likely to leave, but you never know in football. I think 5 million is no problem for Celtic. I really do. And I think that he will have such a big impact in one of those long drawn-out seasons that we'll have next season. If we win the league, or if it's Europa League, it's 8 games in Europe now. And I think with the cup games and with the league itself, it's still a drawn-out season. So, yeah, a definite signing for me.
I think so too. I think he's proven his worth. He's actually, along with James Forrest last week, for example, Daizen Maeda has played a huge part in keeping Celtic in this title race. You remember the 2 penalties at Easter Road, the double at Fir Park against Motherwell, and various other key goals, the 3rd goal against Rangers at Ibrox. He scored massive goals for Celtic. And they almost pay for themselves. So I think it's an easy deal at 5 million if Celtic could get that over the line. Based on that being the 11, Paddy, it does leave you some decent game changer options off the bench. You've got the likes of Daizen Maeda, Louis Palmer, maybe. Yang, maybe. not today. I'll not have that debate today. But you've got Kuhn, who can be lively. You've got Bernardo, who's shown what he can do at times. And if Callum McGregor starts, then you've got Iwata on the bench or vice versa. And I think we're generally in good health. I think with Maeda being back available, you're at full fitness, Paddy. So you certainly can't grumble in terms of any, availability issues at this stage.
No, you can't. And I think it's been the bane of our season all year, to be honest. When you look at, thinking that you're maybe getting back to full fitness and then another niggly injury comes out of nowhere, and that consistency in our starting 11 has just not been there at all. So, no, it's really nice knowing that we have a full pool of players ready to take us through for the final games of the season and get us ready for this run-in. I think Maeda being back is huge. I think we all felt that disappointment when we found out he was injured. To then know that he's going to be here for these 5 games is absolutely brilliant. And I think the whole squad will take a massive boost for that as well. He's so important to the team and how we play. And I dare to say, I think a few others have mentioned this, how important his return was in January as well to this team after injury has been a massive reason why we've kept in there as well and kept pushing away. So, yeah, it's full steam ahead.
Definitely, it's as I say, a huge boost to have the squad in such good health at this stage. Just another question from Monty. He's asked that would we like to see Celtic go 3 at the back next season with 2 strikers up front, a 3-5-2 formation? Monty and everyone else, I'm sure, loved that under Martin O'Neill. I don't think so, would be my response to that. I think the game's changed in such a way that there will be examples and teams that do play. I just don't think it's the way that I would go. And I remember Ronnie Dyla started playing one up front for Celtic. You remember that, and the grief he got at different times. I just think it's part of the modern game. You've got your one striker and you've got lots of support getting to him. So whether that's a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, I generally think if Rodgers is a manager, I don't see him changing. I know he flirted with it at one point earlier in the campaign, but generally speaking, he's a 4-3-3 kind of manager. So if Brendan Rodgers is still here, I think he'll stick with that kind of formation. Paddy, we'll have a look at Hearts briefly. They're sitting in 3rd place as they have been. Sorry, you don't want to spend any time on Hearts?
Crack on.
Let's just go straight to the predictions. So you've got Hearts sitting in 3rd as they have done for pretty much all of the campaign. They find themselves 15 points behind Rangers in 2nd, and 11 points ahead of Kilmarnock in 4th. They're just about guaranteed the 3rd spot, depending on how things go this weekend. What do you feel from just a player psychology point of view? Where's the motivation there? Listen, coming to Celtic Park, for some of these guys, for Stephen A. Smith and others, will be motivation enough. But as a player, is it hard to get, lifting yourself when you know really that it won't have a fundamental impact on where you end up in the season?
I think for a lot of these guys, I think Stephen A. Smith's been quoted back in February or March, just saying he's already looking at 5 or 6 players for next season and is really starting to set up a plan in terms of what they can do in the league and in Europe at the same time. Your incentive is that you might not have a jersey next year. So we watched a very, very weak performance from them in the Scottish Cup semi-final against Rangers. They never even laid a glove. One of the weakest performances I've seen all season for a team, to be honest. Considering you've got half the stadium there, your fans have come all the way down for that. For me, they'll want to try and prove a point after that game, and no better team to do that than Celtic. They'll see it as a big challenge, and like I say, Naismith's the kind of character to say, go and show me what you've got in terms of go and beat them. You've done it. They've done it twice this season. They've got enough about them to come and give us a real go at Celtic Park. However, I've got a really, really strong feeling that we'll be on top of them for the get-go tomorrow. I think we're really going to take the game to them tomorrow. And I remember us doing that at Tynecastle back in October, and they couldn't handle it. So a performance similar like that from us tomorrow, I think, should be enough for us. But we need to come out the traps quickly.
100%. I think Hearts' record against Rangers is absolutely deplorable. They should be embarrassed, utterly embarrassed. I don't think they've beat Rangers ever at Hampden in whatever 100 and odd years. And I didn't catch their game the other week, but it sounds like a woeful performance all round for a team who are by some distance the third best team in the country. To turn in that kind of performance with a cup final at stake, I don't know what's wrong there. That's a psychological thing, because they've got decent players, but for some reason they can't motivate themselves to play against Rangers. They do seem to get around it against Celtic, and I'm not getting into conspiracy theory stuff, but they have a mental block when it comes to Rangers, but they seem to let the shackles off when it comes to us. Who's our danger men, Paddy? Is it too obvious to say it's Shankland, but anyone else in there that will pose a notable threat?
I think for me, it's more just what they do for the back. I think the guy, Kent, actually had probably what was the best player against Rangers. But it seemed as if he was giving up with what was in front of him. They rely a lot on the guy, Cammy Devlin. And a lot of people say he loves to throw the boot in against Celtic. I just think that's that guy's nature. I think he's in and about everything in every game. So he's a tenacious midfielder. I think he'll be really, really pushing it tomorrow to see if he can try and break our midfield down, especially on the back of last week's performance from our mid three. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's put straight on McGregor for the get-go, to be honest. Vargas was the one that I thought, there was a lot of chat saying he's a very comfortable player, very technically gifted, and he was absolutely shocking the other week. So watch this, he'll end up turning it on tomorrow and playing one of his best performances. But I just think for us, like kind of what we're saying with the rest of the season, it's not about anyone else. It's about what we go and do in the park. And I've got a good feeling about tomorrow. I think a good week off again. Like you mentioned before we come on, it's only really been today that I've sat back down and had the excitement kind of kick back in. The one game a week isn't doing it for me, Tino. I'm not getting my Celtic fix, but I'm pretty sure the players would have enjoyed that time together, more coaching, more thinking about how important these games are. Please tell me they're looking at game management as well and making sure that they're comfortable in seeing games out. It's been very uncomfortable the past couple of weeks, but I've just got a good feeling back at Celtic Park, first time in a wee while, we're going to go and do the business.
Yeah, I think and hope you're right. In terms of Hearts, they are a decent side. We've seen that and we've experienced that to our own detriment twice this season. But I think ultimately the very best version of Celtic always beats the very best version of Hearts. So It kind of doesn't matter what they bring, as long as Celtic bring their top performance, then we should be okay on the day. And on that, Paddy, and I can hear the confidence, what's your scoreline prediction for tomorrow?
I'm going to go 4-0 Celtic.
4-0. You've stole my fourth thunder. I'm going to go 4-1. I just feel it is all there to take. And nerves may kick in at some point, but I do think if Celtic can score early-ish within the first 20-25 minutes, then the rest could take care of itself. If you go in nothing each at half-time, that paints a very different picture and you could set yourself up for a nervy afternoon. But I think there is no reason why the players shouldn't be in their best possible condition, physically, mentally, and all other things, in terms of what's ahead of them tomorrow. They know the prize that's at stake. They'll have had a good week prepping. you mentioned, Paddy, that following the Hampden game the week before, they'll have had to iron out some issues defensively, and I'm sure they continue to work on that. But I think in terms of the targets that are there ahead of them, they should be absolutely flying ahead of this game. You've also got the psychological factor in terms of the league stuff, Paddy. We know that 3 points against Hearts puts us in a huge position, regardless what Rangers are going to do on Sunday. They're at home to Kilmarnock, but that in itself brings its own pressure, doesn't it? If Celtic do get a result, they need to rock up on Sunday knowing that nothing but a win, and we could be on for a title clincher the following weekend.
Well, put it to you this way as well. I'm pretty sure that if we go and beat Hearts tomorrow, let me just confirm this, and Kilmarnock were to go and get a result, it takes it to 8 points, and then I think both teams face each other next Saturday. Sorry, no, it's Hearts Dundee the week after, St Mirren, Kilmarnock, but then I think they've got each other in the midweek games, but they're still to face each other anyway, and I think that's what McInnes will be looking at. Well, hang on a minute, is there a little chance that we could try and get in the race for third tier? And I don't think, as much as obviously we know where he's played in the past, he's always loved a game against Rangers. He's relished them. So I'm hopeful that we get the job done. But as I say, it's just for us to focus on what we are doing in each of these games. I would love a slip up on Sunday to make it a potential league decider against them next Saturday. That would be incredible, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think, just to reiterate, and it's the message Brendan Rodgers has been putting out for a long time now, that Celtic just need to deal with their own business and take it game by game. And I suppose he's quoted quite famously now as saying, we'll write our own story, and that remains to be the case. It doesn't matter, Paddy, what's going on elsewhere. If Celtic win this one, then they've got another target next week, and we'll see what that takes us. Paddy, your own final comments. Obviously, as I mentioned there, with such a recording as this, you get more excited, don't you? You look forward to the game as you start to build it up and look at the ups and downs and the various ramifications. But your own final comments ahead of tomorrow's kickoff.
Yeah, just as you said, Tino, it's starting to build up now. The nerves are always going to be there in these kind of run-ins, and I think, as you mentioned earlier on, as a collective, we should be making sure that we're getting behind our team as much as we can. I think that frustration will always be here in the stands of Celtic Park, but what I've noticed more of late in terms of our crowd is that there is that rallying cry as well. I think that we are trying to get behind our team. We are hopefully going to cross the finishing line, but as I said, there will be questions at the end of the season. But for now, we just make sure that we're behind them. We make sure that they know that they've got our support. And I just think that it's up to us. We've got a fully fit team. We're playing all right. We're scoring goals, as I mentioned. Tighten it up at the back, sort the game management out, and I think we're going to do this.
4-0, as predicted, Paddy. Here's hoping. I think we're in a good shape. It's one to look forward to. And as I mentioned earlier on, I think this united front can really help Celtic's players and the management and coaching staff get this one over the line. So let's start again with that one tomorrow. Paddy, thanks for joining us here on a Friday afternoon. Thanks as always to everyone that's joined us in the live, the various comments. They're brilliant and they really make a difference to what we're doing. Thanks, of course, to everyone who continues to listen in podcast format. We'll be back on Sunday with the post-match, so can't do tomorrow straight from the game, but we're back on Sunday, probably at 12 o'clock, TBC. I think Rangers play at 1 o'clock, so for anyone that might want to have an eye on that, we'll be back hopefully at 12 o'clock with the post-match. But in the meantime, for myself and Paddy, thanks for joining us. Hopefully another big day at Celtic.